Before we do that, Richard, did you have a good fourth man? What did you end up doing this weekend?
I pretty much laid low and just enjoyed staying around the house and doing a little yard work.
That doesn't sound enjoyable to me, being out in the heat, pulling weeds out of flower beds. But to each their own.
It was enjoyable afterwards, though. Yeah, get it over with.
And get it done.
I was going to say, because I equate yard work to like working out. Is you hate while you're doing it, but you're happy with the results, especially like if it looks really good after, if you did a good job.
Yeah.
Like, while you're doing, you're like, I hate this because it's hot, it's musty, it's steamy. But then you look after, it's like, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
So, well, Richard.
Kind of like a proud papa.
Yeah. So got some good news over the weekend, and then got some bad news as far as the recruiting stuff is concerned. Let's start with the bad news. And this is like Landon Rogers out of Little Rock, Parkview quarterback. People are speculating if he's going to play that at the next level. He decided to decommit on over the weekend. Just kind of your thoughts in talking with him, and just kind of what happened there as far as that goes, man.
I hadn't been able to get a hold of him. Hearing a lot of different things, nothing really solid. I know some people think, well, it's because of Lucas Coley, committing to Arkansas back, not too long ago, and now I'm pretty confident in saying that didn't have anything to do with it. As far as when Coley committed, there wasn't any alarm or anything like that. I mean, usually in that type of situation, coaches keep kids like that informed and say, hey, we're going to sign 3 guys at your position. So here's a couple of guys that we think we may be able to get. So that would have been no surprise. And I was told again that wasn't an issue. But, obviously he opened things up. I think it was somewhat of a surprise to some people from some of the people that I talked to. So, but hey, you try to recruit them back and see what happens. Usually, when a guy reopens, they don't come back. But it has happened, but it doesn't happen that often.
Richard, do you think he plays quarterback in the next level? 6'5", big kid. I've gotten a chance to watch him play a little bit, but there's kind of speculation out there that he'd be more of like a tight end or maybe wider. What position do you think he plays at the college level?
Well, he's got an elite arm, and when I say elite, it's Ryan Mallett or maybe even better, and I don't say that lightly. I've seen Landon play several times, and the problem with him is his accuracy. One throw, it'd be right on the money, and the other one, if it's say a slant pattern or something, it could be 5 yards behind the receiver. He is a project in that regard, but talent-wise, arm-wise, he's as good as there is. As far as maybe playing another position, obviously when you're 6'5", about 215 pounds, and you're a good athlete. He's not a great athlete, but he's a good athlete. Speculation could enter your mind if things don't work out at quarterback that he could move to tight end. I could see that, but at the same time, he's always played, quarterback, and he's got that mentality. Could he flip the switch and put his hand in the dirt and have to block somebody? That remains to be seen. He's got the capability. I mean, he's very, very strong. His weight room numbers are pretty crazy for a quarterback, especially his size and those long arms. His bench press is well over 300 pounds.
Yeah. I just think about the timing at quarterback. I mean, you got Felipe Franks, who's a senior this year. Then you look, and I guess the next guy kind of in line right now is KJ Jefferson, who's a redshirt freshman. Then you got Hornsby. You got Coley coming in, as you mentioned. You still got John Stephen Jones and Jack Lindsay, who will be a senior this year, so he won't be there the following year. I don't think I'm missing anybody there, but you just think about it. All these things have to time out, and if you got 3 or 4 guys kind of bunched up in a class or two apart from each other, that has to factor not into just Landon Rogers' decision, but any other quarterback they're recruiting right now.
It could, but at the same time, most there may be some exceptions because of turnover and guys leaving, but most of the time, most programs have about 3 or 4 guys already on campus, and you're going to face that usually anywhere else you go for the most part, unless, like I said, some guys have left and their numbers are pretty low. That could be a possibility, but wherever you go, you're going to have competition.
I'm just saying a lot of guys going to be in freshman and sophomore years. How many quarterbacks do you think this coaching staff will look to sign on a routine year? Will it be one? Will it be two? What do you think their philosophy is going to be at that position?
Well, I mean, I tend to think they're trying to get the numbers back up. Obviously, like you said, the numbers are the numbers that if the guys go, sign, say in December, the numbers would definitely for young quarterbacks would definitely be maybe a little higher than normal. But I tend to think they'll probably go back to signing one the next year and going forward, unless obviously you have some turnover and have unexpected injuries and force a guy to have to give up the game of football or something like that.
Richard Davenport with us here on the Morning Rush. Richard, Arkansas, we've talked about kind of the Landon Rogers stuff. They did get some good news over the weekend with Christopher Paul, linebacker out of Georgia, committing. Just kind of your thoughts on this kid.
Well, a physical kid who would play the linebacker position, 6'1", 235. Told me he ran a 4.71 in the 100-yard dash out of Georgia. Had offers from Tennessee, Louisville, Nebraska, TCU, Michigan State. More than 20 offers total. And a very physical kid who's a leader of his team the past 2 years. Team captain, which is pretty unusual, for a sophomore and a junior. But after talking to him, you can understand why. Physical kid who loves to hit and has a mentality that you want at the Mike linebacker position. And he had a previous relationship with Coach Pittman and several other members of the staff, and just was really waiting on the Arkansas offer. Sometimes you hear guys say, "Man, I was really waiting on this offer," and you go, "Okay," and then they don't end up at Arkansas or anything like that. But within a week, he got the offer, and within a week, he committed to Arkansas. So he really, truly, really is an admirer of Coach Pittman and members of the staff and Coach Rhodes and just really just a kid who I think has a bright future because he's such a high character kid. And one thing that really kind of told me of his somewhat of his character, he works at Chick-fil-A. Man, their recruiting, their hiring process is very, very thorough. So you get hired on at Chick-fil-A, you probably a good kid.
Did he tell you my pleasure after you talked with him a little bit? So I feel like it's ingrained in his head. Yeah. Richard, I'm looking at the class rankings right now in 24/7, just kind of comparing to last year. They got him 35th overall nationally, 9th in the SEC. At this point in the recruiting tenure, Richard, where is this class stacking up to the class that they just brought in 2020?
Well, I mean, that I would say right now it's probably about on par, but they finished pretty strong for the 20 class. How well do they finish as far as this class? I guess we'll obviously find out. They're on some pretty good guys, but they got to finish strong. Looks like they're going to sign anywhere from 23 to 25, and I say 23 to 25 because the numbers always kind of fluctuate regardless of what the intentions are as far as a solid number. They may say 20 and it usually ends up 23 to 25, but they're halfway there, and it all depends on how they finish up this class.
Richard, have you talked to any of the high school coaches around the state? I know they've had conditioning and some workouts the last couple of weeks. Have you got any feedback from kind of this initial restart or this slow restart high school football's having in Arkansas, at least with coaches being around their kids in the last couple of weeks?
They're loving the mask. I'm just kidding. Can you imagine being out there wearing a mask, being a coach?
I've seen the coaches out, and you're right. I've been to one place where they were working out, and the coaches are doing it. Of course, the players, as they're running 100-yard sprints, they're not wearing the mask. So
no, but most of the guys that I talk to, they're just glad to get back out there and be around the kids because obviously they've been separated from them for so long. And I guess they start back up today after the break. And it's they're happy to be back with them, getting them back into shape and football shape, and being able to at least talk to them in person instead of just over the phone.
What's your feel for the sentiment right now around Arkansas with high school coaches? Is the season going to go off as scheduled? Are we going to see a delay? What do you think high school football, in your opinion, what's the future of it here in the rest of 2020?
I don't know if there's a lot of optimism, to be honest with you. And people that I've talked to, some think, if we have a season, you hear that quite a bit when you're talking to high school coaches, if we have a season. I do know that, and I noticed a while back, that Texas is talking about having their football season flip-flopped in the spring, the fall sports to the spring and the spring sports to the fall. I don't know if Arkansas has even thought about that. From what I kind of gathered, I don't think that's even been discussed. If it has, no one's shared it with me. I think that may be something that they probably might need to look at, just because of the, what's going on with the increased cases and the possibility. There's talk of a vaccine at the end of the year or the first of the year. I mean, the possibility of playing in the spring sounds maybe a little bit more doable than maybe it does this fall.
And you got golf, which is obviously an outdoor sport, and still a lot of people are recreationally enjoying golf. Volleyball is another sport that we don't talk a lot about, but obviously I think has gained a lot of traction over the last 10 years or so in our state, in addition to football. So it's not just football flipping to spring. It would perhaps be some of the other sports we don't talk a lot about that would move schedules as well.
Yeah, well, I think it's something to look at. I think you got to have everything. I think you got to have everything on the table as far as the possibilities of trying to get your season in, and it would be really disappointing if all that they have, on the agenda is, hey, we're either playing this fall or we're not. That would be kind of disappointing, obviously for the kids and the players. And let's face it, there's a lot of, and we talked about this quite some time, and it's a daily occurrence with me when I'm talking to kids, as far as seniors in the 2021 class, that they obviously haven't been able to go to camps and college camps and be seen. And a lot of them are concerned about, being noticed by college coaches. And without a season, that would be just devastating to a lot of them.
Yeah, and the dead period's through the end of August now. And if you flip the seasons, you'd have to make some adjustments to signing days, wouldn't you, to align with some of these changes? Of course,
I would think
national policy versus what they might do in Arkansas. But you're talking about maybe some kids not even getting to play before the next signing day.
Yeah, I would think that they would probably have an early signing period, and then maybe have one later during the spring, like April 15th or something like that they usually have for basketball. That's just, speculation on my part, obviously. But I think you would go ahead and try to get the guys that already know where they want to go and they're already committed, get them signed in December or February or whatever, they come up with, and then have one later in the spring.
Richard, let me top off the interview with this, man. Last time we were talking about exciting wide receiver quarterback combos that we're looking forward to this upcoming season. Tommy said Traylon Burks, I said Trey Knox, and both of those coupled with Felipe Franks. Is there a dynamic duo? Is there a combination that you're really excited to see this upcoming football season with a quarterback and wide receiver on the Razorbacks?
I think. Well, I'll just I'll just be like what was just mentioned. I tend to think Burks and Franks. I think everybody looks at that combo and gets excited. And I think let's face it, the last 2 years, Arkansas's quarterback position has been very, very inconsistent. And if you would have had more consistent play at quarterback, you probably would have maybe won a few more games. Yep. But that obviously wasn't the case. But yeah, I would probably go with that combo.
Richard Davenport of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, kind enough to join us again this week. Missed out on him last week, got him this week. Richard, we'll talk to you on Thursday, man, on Recruiting Thursday.
All right, guys. Sounds good.